Yeah, I'm kind of blacklisted. I haven't gotten a studio job in 15 years.
So you feel in a way that you are banned from the...
No, not in a way.
You are?
Yeah, I think.
Shut the video camera off.
I will keep it on until we're rehearsing.
Oh, bam!
Welcome back to Juicy Pulse, your daily dose of scandal and glamour. Let's spill the tea on today's biggest celebrity stories. Wait a sec. Val Kilmer didn't just dip out of Hollywood, he got wiped off the map. At the height of his fame, when he was ruling the big screen, he just disappeared. No warning, no explanation. And now, Mel Gibson is finally spilling some dark tea, saying Kilmer refused to play the Hollywood game, and that bold move might have ruined everything. Let's take it back to the 80s and early 90s. Val wasn't just acting in movies, he was the movie. Straight out of Juilliard, youngest one ever accepted, dripping with raw talent and that slick attitude. Casting directors were fighting to get him in the room. Yeah, he had that arrogant swagger, but he had the hits to back it up. Top Secret, Top Gun, The Doors, Tombstone. When he became Jim Morrison on screen, people legit thought he was the real deal. By the time he put on that Batman suit in Batman Forever, 1995, he wasn't just a star, he was untouchable. Then boom, gone. When Batman and Robin came out, Val was missing, just gone like smoke. George Clooney swooped in. No press release, no interview, just total silence. But director Joel Schumacher, he didn't let it go. When the drama finally came out in The Independent, Joel unloaded. It wasn't shade. It was full-on chainsaw level. He ripped into Val with no filter. Joel Schumacher didn't just throw shade, he torched Val Kilmer's reputation. He straight up called him psychotic and went off about being sick of spoiled, overpaid actors who acted like they were untouchable. Joel said he prayed he'd never have to deal with Val again. Prayed. And then he dropped the pettiest line ever. He was badly behaved. He was rude and inappropriate. Then we had 2 weeks where he didn't speak to me, but it was bliss. Bliss? That's next level savage. But let's keep it real, since when has being difficult ever gotten a man booted out of Hollywood? Come on now. That town runs on chaos. Stars have trashed sets, screamed at crew, even stormed off mid-scene, and still got Oscar nods and million-dollar deals. So what really happened with Val? Was he that wild? Or was he just refusing to play along with the puppet masters? That's when the blacklisting rumors started circling. And guess what? Val didn't deny it. In a raw, emotional interview, he laid it out himself. He said it wasn't about bad behavior. It was because he wouldn't follow the rules. Hollywood didn't want passion. They wanted silence and submission. And Val? He thought it was still about the craft, about art. Then everything shifted. Around 1998 to 1999, his name started disappearing. Not just his. Mel Gibson, Wesley Snipes, Brendan Fraser, all of them started vanishing like ghosts. They all went dark around the same time, like someone flipped a switch. Mel Gibson, once the king of the box office, suddenly couldn't land a role unless he paid for the whole film. Wesley Snipes? Locked up over tax stuff, blamed it on his accountant, messing up. Brendan Fraser? Vanished after speaking out about getting violated. You seeing the pattern? 'Cause the internet sure has. And Mel? He straight up said the quiet part out loud back in 1998. He compared Hollywood to a shady saloon from an old Western. You walk in and the whole place goes silent. Eyes on you. Chills. At first he thought it was just in his head. But nah, he wasn't paranoid. After he directed The Passion of the Christ, every big studio iced him out. Total blackout. The man had to fund his own movies just to keep working. Now here's where it gets real creepy. In 1999, Stanley Kubrick drops Eyes Wide Shut, a film dripping in symbolism, secret societies, masks, twisted elite parties. It felt like a straight-up expose on the sick side of Hollywood. Then, boom, Kubrick dies. Not just dies, but right before he could approve the final cut. And word is, they chopped out 25 minutes of unseen footage. Gone, deleted, forever. And what else happened in '99? Val Kilmer disappears from the A-list. just like that. Now think about this. Batman wears a mask. And Val's version? He was cold, distant, broken. A haunted man hiding behind armor. It was more than just a role. That Batman looked like someone who'd seen too much. Like he was carrying secrets behind that mask. Val Kilmer wasn't just a Hollywood star. He was documenting his own life like he saw the storm coming. From his childhood to movie sets to behind closed doors moments, he filmed everything. It's like he knew he'd need proof one day. His 2021 documentary Val hit hard. Not just for the rare footage, but for the deeper message. It felt like a man recording his own slow disappearance. Like he was saying, if they try to erase me, here's the truth. And then, there's that island. You know the one. The shady flights, the sealed lists, the silence that followed. And here's where it gets spooky. Kilmer's fall from grace lines up exactly with when whispers about Epstein's world started bubbling under the surface. Did Val turn something down? Did he speak when he wasn't supposed to? We don't know for sure. But way too many big names started crashing out at the same time for this to feel random. Now jump to 2015. That's when the script for Sound of Freedom was first written, a film about underground trafficking, based on the real-life missions of former Homeland Security agent Tim Ballard. The timing? Chilling. The silence? Deafening. Filming wrapped in 2018, and you'd think this movie would have been a huge deal, right? A must-see? But nah. It got treated like a hot potato nobody wanted to hold, passed around, ignored, left to rot, for 5 whole years. Why? That's when things start smelling real fishy. Originally, Sound of Freedom was set to be released by 20th Century Fox. But then boom, Disney swoops in and buys out Fox in 2019. And with that deal, they inherited Sound of Freedom and straight up locked it away like it never existed. No trailers, no press, just vanished. People started giving this whole thing major side-eye. I mean, why would Disney, of all studios, sit on a movie about rescuing children from trafficking? That's the kind of story that should be getting loud support, right? Fans were already raising eyebrows, but then Mel Gibson jumped in, and that's when the whole situation blew up. Mel's been the outcast of Hollywood for decades. This dude's been calling out the industry's twisted vibes since the late 90s. Back then, he wasn't sure if he was just being paranoid or if Hollywood really did have that creepy haunted house energy. Turns out, he wasn't imagining a thing. The longer Mel stayed in Hollywood, the more sure he became. This wasn't just in his head. It's not paranoia if they're actually hiding something. He once described Hollywood like some creepy little town where everyone knows the secret, but no one ever speaks. And there's one thing he shared that stuck with people. A story about what a powerful producer allegedly told him behind closed doors. No names, but the message? Chilling. Mel called it early. He said Hollywood was spiritually bankrupt, and he wasn't staying quiet about it either. He spoke out, loudly, called them out for how they treat women, how they use and discard kids, and how the worst people in power always get protected. So when Sound of Freedom finally got released independently and started shaking the table, Mel backed it with full force. For him, it wasn't just support, it was personal. And get this, the film, made on a tiny $14 million budget, raked in nearly $100 million worldwide. No major studio, no traditional push, just word of mouth and raw momentum. But did the media give it props? Not even close. They didn't just ignore it. They came swinging. CNN, Rolling Stone, The Guardian. They didn't offer real critiques, no breakdowns, no facts. Just tossed the label conspiracy bait and kept it moving. And Mel? Still blacklisted. Still hustling. Still refusing to shut up. Mel's been hyping Lethal Weapon 5 like it's the crown jewel of the whole series. According to him, the script's done. It's locked. It's ready to go. But guess what? Nobody's making it. Not even he knows why, and that says a lot. Let's be honest. It probably has nothing to do with the script and everything to do with how studios still see his name as a risk. Doesn't matter how solid the project is. His rep is still radioactive in certain rooms. And yeah, you can see why he's mad. He's not wrong to feel like he's being singled out. Hollywood's full of people who've done way worse, and yet they got their red carpet comebacks, no questions asked. So why not him? That's the question he's been stuck with for years. But he's not completely alone. A few folks in the industry have spoken up for him. Robert Downey Jr., the ultimate comeback story, publicly vouched for Mel. And more recently, Andrew Garfield showed love too. While promoting Hacksaw Ridge, which Mel directed, Garfield made a bold point. He said everyone deserves a second, even a third or fourth chance. But let's be real. That ain't happening for Mel anytime soon. Now he's hinting that Val Kilmer knew what Hollywood really demanded. That fame wasn't just about talent or hustle. It came at the cost of something way deeper. Your soul. Val wasn't about to sign away his spirit just to stay famous. Mel basically hinted that Val saw too much, asked the wrong questions, and straight up said no to that secret elite handshake. And just like that, roles dried up, projects vanished, and the media flipped the whole narrative on him. They didn't say he was being iced out. They said he was difficult, sick, or stepping back. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. According to Mel, Val didn't walk away. He got pushed out for refusing to follow the quiet rules everyone else pretends not to see. That same dark, shadowy machine Mel's been calling out for years allegedly turned its back on Val the moment he stopped playing along. Now folks are asking, was the Blacklist ever really about ego? Or was it about exposure? So when Val returned as Iceman in Top Gun Maverick, it didn't feel like a triumphant comeback. It felt like a final bow. And if you rewatch that scene now, it hits different. That voice you hear on screen, it's not fully his. It's stitched together. Part AI, part old audio, part tech magic. Val wanted that scene. He needed it. So they made it happen. But off camera, he was struggling hard. Every day on set drained him, physically, emotionally. He gave everything just to stand in front of that camera again. Every single line in Maverick was a battle for Val. And after that film, he went silent. No interviews, no appearances, nothing. Fans figured he was just laying low, enjoying some peace. But behind that silence, something deeper was happening. He wasn't just stepping back. He was fading. Quietly. Slowly. Friends started noticing it first. The calls stopped getting answered. Texts left unread. Some hadn't seen him in months. Even his own family was out of touch. But no one really pushed, because this was Val Kilmer. The mysterious soul. The reclusive artist who lived in his own world. People figured this was just him being him. Until April 1st. When the news broke, most people hoped it was some twisted April Fool's joke. But it wasn't. Val was gone. And then the autopsy dropped, and everything shifted. Yeah, he had been battling throat cancer for years. But that's not what the report listed as his cause of death. It said pneumonia. Now here's where things start getting eerie. Because in Hollywood, pneumonia has almost become a code word, a convenient label. One size fits all for deaths that raise too many questions. Kim Porter, Andre Harrell. Same story, same word. It's quiet, it's vague, it shuts the conversation down. And for someone like Val, who had spent years going silent, this ending felt too neat, too controlled, too heavy. And just like that, the world moved on. No major tribute, no big memorial, no industry-wide send-off. It was quiet, too quiet. For a man who once was Hollywood, that silence hit hard. But fans? They didn't forget. They started piecing things together, rewatching his interviews, digging through old footage, reading between the lines. Val had been saying things for years, but no one really listened. Until it was too late. He spoke in riddles, in poems, in that slow, philosophical tone that made people think he was just eccentric. But now, those same words hit different. It wasn't rambling. It was warning. He once said, "The soul is more fragile than the body." And looking back, that line feels like a confession, like he knew the toll all of this took on him. And Mel? He's still talking, still dropping hints, still calling out the system that he believes took Val down. Slowly, silently, methodically. He claims Val paid the price for saying no to the wrong people, for asking questions that don't get asked, for walking away when others stayed quiet. And the craziest part? No one's refuting it. No one's rushing to deny it. That silence, it's deafening. Because maybe the real cost of fame isn't just your privacy or your peace. Maybe it's your truth. Now people are asking what else got buried. What other stories got wiped clean before we even noticed? Because if Val Kilmer, the Hollywood golden boy, the Juilliard prodigy, the man who became legends on screen, could be silenced, who's safe? There's a long line of stars who vanished under strange circumstances. Careers that suddenly went cold. Voices that got quieter. Not because they lost talent, but because they lost favor. It's like there's this invisible line in Hollywood, and once you cross it, there's no way back. Speak out, you get labeled. Refuse the handshake, you get erased. And if you push too far, you disappear completely. Fans have started noticing patterns. The same media outlets that once praised these stars turn on them in a heartbeat. One wrong interview, one off-script moment, and boom, you're out. And the comeback? It only happens if you play ball. Say the right things, shake the right hands, smile at the right camera. But Val didn't play. He didn't fake it. He didn't bend. And maybe that's why his story feels different. Maybe that's why his silence speaks louder now than it ever did before. Because it's not just about a career cut short. It's about a man who saw behind the curtain and refused to join the show. Maybe Val knew all along that telling the truth wasn't about being loud. It was about being ready to lose everything. And he did. His fame, his roles, his spotlight, it all slipped away. Not because he stopped being talented, but because he stopped being obedient. And Hollywood doesn't forgive that. But here's the twist. He never begged to come back, never sold out, never cleaned up his story just to fit back in. While others chased the red carpets and the photo ops, Val faded into the shadows, on his own terms. And now, all that footage he shot, all those journals, all those old tapes. It's like he left a trail, a warning, a time capsule for the few people still watching, still listening. Because maybe the real truth about Hollywood isn't just about power plays or media spin. It's about what happens when someone says no and means it. Mel's still talking. Others are starting to speak up. But Val's silence, that says everything. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not the scandals, not the secrets, but the fact that someone like Val Kilmer could vanish right in front of us, and nobody stopped it. Not because we didn't care, but because the system made sure we didn't notice. Val's body told a story most people never saw. Lingering infections, surgical wounds that never healed. And his condition? Severely malnourished. The coroner's report didn't hold back. It pointed to possible neglect, or maybe something even deeper. A slow retreat, a quiet surrender, muscle wasting, untreated infections, old surgical scars that refused to close. It wasn't just illness. It was a man withdrawing from the world in real time. And here's what really hits. Some of those infections could have been treated. The report even said so. But they weren't. Because Val wasn't asking for help. He'd stopped speaking up, stopped reaching out. He was in pain, constant pain. And then came the meds. His system was loaded with prescription painkillers. Not enough to OD, but more than enough to show he was hurting. Not just his body, his spirit too. That kind of pain? It's the kind that words can't fix. The kind that makes you stop explaining because no one's really listening anyway. In those last years, he turned inward, painting, journaling, staying close to his kids, but still isolating, still drifting. And then, just days before his death, he dropped a Batman tribute online. One final post. Not loud, not flashy, just a whisper, a symbol. And now, people are asking if that tribute wasn't just nostalgia. In the end, Val Kilmer was never just a movie star. He was a whistleblower in a cape, a man who dared to say no in a world built on silence and masks. And if that's what got him blacklisted, you really gotta ask. How many others stayed quiet just to survive? Maybe Val's silence wasn't surrender. Maybe it was strategy. Maybe keeping quiet was the only shield he had left. Because in an industry where speaking up can erase your career, disappear your name, or worse, maybe staying invisible was the only way to stay alive. So maybe the story here isn't about how Val died. Maybe it's about why he vanished. And once you see it that way, the whole thing changes. The roles that stopped coming, the interviews that never aired, the footage he kept locked away, the pain he carried alone. It all starts to look less like a slow fade and more like a silent war. And if that hit you in the gut, you're not the only one. Because once you pull back that curtain, you can't unsee what's hiding behind it. So yeah, this story's not over. And if you think this was wild, you're definitely gonna wanna watch what's coming next. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.